Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Pathfinder Kingmaker. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you chose to join me today here in our court as we talk to everyone up here. I am going to talk to Jod. I also need to talk to Caston over there.
How may I serve you, your grace?
Hello, did I talk to you everything I could have? I think so. How are you enjoying your duties as a high priest?
Everything is all well, your grace.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Caston, how's it going?
How may I serve you, your grace?
So what did you do to be exiled? I believe I have a right to know.
Fair enough. For a Garess, the prosperity of the house and the honor of the name stands above all else. And I was betrothed to a widow from another noble house. This union was of great importance to the family. However, 3 months before the wedding, I met a commoner girl, gentle and pure, and we fell in love. I would have rather died than leave my Tanya. So I decided to break off the engagement with my noble bride. I could never have expected what would follow. My father was furious. I'd set a pointless love affair above the interests of the house. He expelled me from the family and ordered to leave our lands under threat of death. And Tanya, her mother was seriously ill, and she stayed behind to care for her rather than follow me into exile. Thus, I was on my own, disgraced, without a name, and without love. Don't imagine that I ask for pity. Everyone gets what they deserve.
Yeah. So if I were to offer you a public position, what job would you like to do?
I believe I can manage to uphold the law. Being a warden would suit me well.
There you go. Yeah, I've appointed... Was it him that I appointed? I think it might have been somebody else that I appointed as a warden. But anyway, do excuse me, but... Oh, I'm sorry. This is moving the camera a little bit too fast. Do excuse me if I'm a little bit confused as to which conversations I have had already, because I have had all the conversations over here, just the recording was corrupted, as I said before. Lindsay, talk to you. Yeah, I did. Bye. Okay, let's have a chat. There's a blind guy over here. The storyteller. I don't believe we have talked to him on camera. Well, on this camera anyway. I don't believe you've seen anything. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, he doesn't go anywhere. So let's have a chat with him. He's a curious character. And one that sent me on, not a rant, but I guess a ramble. Let's just go with a ramble. Let's see. The man standing before you. Oh, right off the bat. This character is written weirdly. Resembles an elf. But a very old one. He's not an elf. He resembles an elf. And there's other things. He's an elf, by the way. He's the elf that we learned off before. His face is wrinkled and his white beard falls to his waist. The man seems to be completely blind. The old man stares past you with unseeing eyes. He seems to be consumed in his thoughts. It should be by his thoughts, but sure. He mutters a soft melody, swaying back and forth slightly to its rhythm. The man shudders briefly and stops singing. His mouth opens and closes a few times, bringing to mind a fish brought ashore. And who is there? Is that you, your grace? Oh, yeah, and we can ask him how he knows it is us. First off, he doesn't know it is us, but he knows it is us because of our smell. Gilladel smells like the best thing. Lavender and honey. That's a nice smell. Let's go with that. Lavender and honey. Wait a minute. What did Yennefer smell of? Dang it. She did smell of lavender, didn't she? That's not the smell of Gilladel. Gilladel smells of different. It's different, even if it is the same thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna ask how he knows it is me, because canonically he knows it's me because of the smell. My Gilladel's smell is famous throughout the land. Who are you? I am an elf. Oh, yeah, see? From Kionin. My name is not important. I'm the storyteller, collector of stories. I collect unknown legends of ancient times. The man smiles, but he doesn't seem to be directed towards you. Long ago, I was a smith in Kionin. The fire of the forge has burned out my eyes, but I am grateful for it. If I could see, I would yet forge suits of armor for Yadara's guards. Instead, I have stepped on the path of an adventurer and gatherer of ancient legends. The old man ponders silently for a moment. Many peoples are long dead, their homes crumbled to dust, and their bodies turned to ash. Only legends can still tell us of their triumphs and defeats, their joys and fears. I would be so interested to hear the stories told about us after our demise. And here starts my little nitpicky. No, you wouldn't. And I'm gonna come back to this in a little bit. I have always been drawn to the stolen lands where countless expeditions, armies, and even kingdoms, no, not countless kingdoms, have met their untimely ends. When I learned of a new barony being founded in the heart of these lands, I knew I wanted to be part of its story, so I made the journey here. Thank you. Are you really an elf? Oh, yeah, another thing. Do other elves age like you have? So, I don't know. I don't know what the canon says about the elves, because they could be immortal. Even Tolkien was confused about, well, up to a certain point, even Tolkien was confused about what elves were, if they were immortal or not, specifically if they aged or not. Now, elves in the world of Tolkien, they do age. They take millennia to age, but they do get older, and they do get gray hair and all this sort of stuff. I believe the father of Elrond. Elrond is an half-elf. The father is, I think, actually the father is Gil-galad. No, it mustn't be. I don't know, actually. I think the Elrond is famous for being... This is Tolkien lore, not this game, of course. He's famous for being the half-elf. He's referred to in the book sometimes as the half-elf. It's one of the few half-elves that exist, because the elves didn't elope with humans. But there was one famous human in the Second Age that had an affair. Well, actually, Arwen, I believe. Morwen? I don't remember the name of her name. But Elrond's mother, if I'm right, she was an elf. And she gave up her immortality, sort of. So it's a little bit hazy in regards to Tolkien's lore. But in this game, tell me, what does this make you think? Because it's not definitive, right? Do elves not age at all? Are they immortal? It's like, what? And you'll see his answer. It's all over the place as well. But anyway, if you want to see the story, if you want to know in particular, or if you know specifically the story from Tolkien that I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to know about it, let me know as well, because I'll look into it and I'll tell you in detail. But I can't come up with it from off the top of my head right now. But I'm gonna ask this: are you really an elf? Do other elves age like you have? A common question. Despite my unusual looks, I am an elf. And an old one, yes, perhaps older than any other elf of Keonin. However, I doubt my age alone is responsible for my appearance. And his answer answers nothing of my wonders anyway. I keep the stories of many people and races, some forever gone from the face of Golarion, but they live in my memory and my heart. When I accept a new story, I lock it within myself, bearing the weight of its words and the emotions they invoke. I sometimes think that I probably should have died long ago, but some incomprehensible force is keeping me alive and granting me the ability to continue my quests to gather stories. Be it divine power or fell curse, I am grateful either way. And when he says this, that he probably should have died long ago, it makes you kind of think that, yes, elves live a long time, but they die before they get old. That's just conjecture right now. Alright, would you care to trade stories with me? Oh, and here's my next ramble. The man's voice rustles like autumn leaves. I am a collector, not a trader. If I share a story with you, you receive the power to pass it further, changing or embellishing it, whether willingly or not. Can I be certain you will keep my stories intact in their absolute purity? The storyteller ponders for several moments. No, I do not think so. At least not yet. And here is half of my ramble with him. Absolute purity. The mere fact that stories exist means they are impure. If you're going to tell a story, he mentioned it before about the triumphs and defeats, the joys and the fears. Like, if I want to peek on this, I can immediately. You're not telling me the story of the day-to-day lives. Like, if you're sociologist. If you study sociology, you know that you're gonna focus a little bit more on the middle of these things rather than on the extremes. Even though history, of course, with a capital H, is made mostly, but not exclusively, of course, and especially not lately, out of triumphs and defeats. Now, historically speaking, he's absolutely correct. Historically speaking, the attitude towards history, with a capital H, it is very much a story or history, at least in the Western world, of highs and lows and of what primary events that shaped nations and all that sort of stuff, what those happen. But the fact that you choose to tell that story rather than the story of the normal day-to-day lives of people, that in itself robs history of its purity, and it's very important. And I studied this because I studied archaeology. I had a bunch of classes in history, specifically in history and theory of historical theory and that sort of stuff. It's very important for an historian to be aware that they are shaping history when they are writing about anything at all. Archaeology doesn't quite deal with the making of history in and of itself. It's more about the discovery and about the register rather than other things, but still. The other problem here is, if you tell me the story and I don't tell it to anyone, I am destroying it. I am changing it because nobody's gonna know it ever. Like, if I choose to tell... If you tell me two stories, one of a people that made cakes and were amazing and battled and were like battled with swords and conquered everybody so they could make cakes all over the land, and then you tell me a story of, this is all of course ridiculous, but it's an example. If you tell me the story of a people who made cheese and also battled and were amazing as well, and I choose to tell the story of the cake makers and not that of the cheese makers, then I'm shaping the world of the future because I'm sort of inspiring people, depending on how much I tell that story, of course. Even if it is pure, as he puts it, I am shaping the world, and everybody's gonna make cakes because they want to be like the cool guys in the past that made cakes and battled everybody, and not the cheese makers because they sucked. They don't even know they existed, and vice versa as well. You like even if I tell both stories, that's still a choice as an historian, as a storyteller. But this is just half of the ramble. He's got a very, by the way, gameplay centric role in the game, and I love it, and it's really good. It's also really good that he goes into that. But for an historian, he's really crap. But then again, I'm not criticizing. Well, so I am criticizing the writing. Actually, kind of. All I'm saying is I wouldn't write it like that because I know about. Theory of history or historical theory or however you want to call it, so I am criticizing the writing, but historically speaking and in fiction it makes total sense that he would exist. This sort of attitude that I am describing towards history is just mostly recently, like in the last few decades, has been developed with a more critical outlook towards the way we tell our own story as humans. So it requires a little bit of attachment, it requires a little bit of capacity to criticize yourself, and having also a big community of storytellers, in our case as humans, of historians, helps a lot in that regard as well, just to have that sort of perspective regarding our own storytelling. But still, he fits totally into the world. Also, it reminds me, and again, I love this character because I'm rambling again for the second time. It reminds me of one character that showed up in Tides of Numenera. If you haven't seen that Let's Play, or if you haven't played it, I highly recommend you play it. It's a very fun game, and it's very interesting. The writing is really, really good. I don't really, for those of you who have played it and maybe might be disagreeing with me, I don't like the fact that they took so many little hints from from Planescape Torment, which you should also play or watch a Let's Play of, and I have also done it. I don't like that aspect of Tides of Numenera, that they sort of took so many little hints. I wish they were a little bit more original, but still, the fact of the matter is the game is brilliantly written, and there's this one particular character that shows up, actually in a memory in that game. He's the historian of a tribe, and he is not actually the historian. This guy is not an historian either, because he doesn't write his things. And that's what history is, written history. It's a very important aspect. And that guy in Tides of Numenera defended, because it's a whole tribe, it's apparently writing things in that tribe, in that game, is completely forbidden, because the power of the written word is stronger than the power of the spoken word, and according to them, or according to what the game proposes, you can easily fix the spoken word, whereas if it's written, it's more difficult because it's so much more powerful. And it is true that the written word is more powerful than the spoken word. But what isn't true is that it is easier to fix the spoken word, and we should know, living the days of real living, we should know that, and we do. The thing is, this guy also doesn't write his things, so history is written. If you don't write, it's prehistory, or proto-history if somebody else writes about you. That's what proto-history is. Like, for example, I don't know, the Gauls. Did the Gauls write? I don't think so. The Gauls during the Roman Empire, for example. Those were proto-historic civilizations, or I guess one civilization, multiple kingdoms and places, because the Romans wrote about them, but they didn't write themselves. And here in Portugal and the Iberian Peninsula, we have the same sort of situation. And yeah, prehistory would be, of course, those that came before. So yeah, that's what history means. It's written record. It's absolutely crucial. But yeah, let's continue. These legends are the because have another half of a ramble. These legends are the most the most precious valuables of this world, the last remnants of ancient tribes. They are beacons illuminating the way to the past, allowing us to meet generations long gone. I cannot let their light fade. And that's why I'm not going to tell you. That's why he's not going to tell me the things. But anyway, the path. But he does have. His point is that the path to the past must not be lost. The true path, he should say, not the path, because just you should tell the stories. Anyway, the old man thinks for a moment, then continues, "But I can offer you a deal, your grace. If you find some items belonging to eras past, bring them to me. If I recognize the stories hidden in those items, I will gladly share them with you." And again, this hints at a more very, very traditional and bad and backwards way of thinking. First thing you learn studying archaeology is that artifacts are terrible. Don't take this stuff. That's bad. No, don't pillage what you find. The context is everything. So if you find a vase, leave it there. It's absolutely crucial. The context is everything. Because a vase in and of itself is not valuable in terms of course, history. Because you can't tell anything from it. Or you can tell some things, but like knowing where it came from, what it was surrounded by, the strata that it's inserted into, what other things that was around, what's written about it, and a bunch of other stuff. Context is everything, and of course he just wants artifacts. But I think he's going to identify things, I suppose. And if you find all the pieces of any ancient artifacts, I can even recall my smithing skills to unite them and restore their power. Okay, I need a wise advisor at my court. Would you like to serve me in matters of state? The question here is if he wants to be an economicist. I probably want to do something with him because this is very obvious. He's very obviously a possible candidate as a council member. The storyteller's voice grows soft. Thank you for your words. I am unlikely to be able to interpret the intricacies of the political world or the affairs of the treasury, but my advice regarding the magic of the arts would be useful to any ruler. Actually, no. I thought because he mentions the intricacy, the affairs of treasury, and we need that. But it's going to be the magic. So yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll leave you to your legends till we meet again. The storyteller doesn't answer. His unseeing eyes staring ahead blankly. I think I did all my ramble. There's no other half. I think I did all the halves. Plenty of halves there. Oh man, it's my alignment. I don't know who told me, but whoever told me it was on a stream. My alignment is chaotic ramble, and I love that idea so much because I am just... Anyway, I do hope... If you have anything to say about it, I very much appreciate any comments so we can talk and I can hear other opinions. Because sometimes, not regarding everything, but regarding some things, like the fact that let's see, Elven ancestry? What was it? I always have a question to myself regarding one particular word, and I've said it so many times over so many different Let's Plays, and nobody has ever commented me about that. So sometimes it feels like I'm speaking into a void regarding some subjects, but some others not so much, and I'm very much appreciative of that. We have a lot of people out here, by the way. We got Tristian, we got Valerie. Hey, Valerie. Greetings. Everything is well, I hope? I'm ready for new orders. Yes, you are. Highland. You see a stout man suited in well-worn armor. His face is framed with silvery stubble, and his fleshy nose is red and pock-marked. He radiates perfect calm as you approach. He bows, respectfully and with dignity. Highland, your grace, captain of the city guard. A young dwarf girl salutes you awkwardly. Dahlia, assistant to the captain, happy to serve your grace. I don't remember hiring a guard captain, or any guards for that matter. I came here from Restov with a dozen of my best guards. By order of Lady Jamandi Aldori, your grace. I hired the rest from among the locals. Don't worry, your grace. We are now the subjects of the barony. We've sworn to serve you faithfully and loyally, and you can count on us. Besides, we draw our salaries from your chests. The captain looks at the female guard, raising his brow, then sighs and looks at you. Of course, every one of us is ready to die to protect your grace, but there's still some work to be done when it comes to discipline. You know that dwarven author, Baldric Zebras? Garlic Tundras? The name escapes me. My boneheads... Oh, this is the weirdest phrase here. He's saying that people apparently like reading his book. Yeah, this is the weirdest phrase. You can go ahead and read it if you want to. So... You have sworn to serve faithfully and loyally. To whom have you served? Have you sworn? Because that's the bit about swearing. You need to swear to me. That's how it goes. You need to swear to me, or to someone under my rule, that someone sworn to me. That's not how that works, but it's okay. It's just don't worry. It's not a plot hole. That's what Dahlia said. I'd like to learn something about those who serve me. Of course, your grace. I have been a guard all my life. I started a snot-nosed runt in the night watch. Not with capital N and the capital W, just the people who watch over the place at night. Restov is famous for its fencing schools. Young people from all the Reaver kingdoms come to study there. It seems every other person has a sword, and every third thinks they know how to use it better than all the rest. A misspoken word or a drunken fight can quickly lead to a stabbing rampage. That's why there are so many guards in the city, and they don't accept just anyone. Lady Jamandi took note of my achievements and marked me for an advancement. That's why I'm here. You shouldn't like Germany did in... I don't know the date. Germany had a lot of swords. I don't know if more than other countries. I'm pretty sure not necessarily more than other countries. But their amount of swords is famous because all their regulation spawned a specific kind of sword that's basically like a big knife. It's built like a knife, but it wasn't. It's not. It's a sword. It's basically a sword, but I don't remember the name of it. It's a famous sword, though. It's like a cutlass, except it's basically the handle is different. It's like a handle of a knife that it's got instead of being the handle of a sword. Anyway, in Germany, for a certain period, you couldn't go into a bar with a sword, just like that. It's better than having the guards, but off he goes. There it is. As for Dahlia, I found her on the street about a decade ago. I remember vividly a tiny dwarf girl sitting on the temple steps, dirty face, bare foot, feeding a piece of bread to a stray cat. I saw her and my heart missed a beat. The captain looks away. Where she's from, who left her alone, and why, only a rascal knows. As she grew, I tried to send her to learn a craft, but who can talk sense into a dwarf? She wanted to be a guard, and that's that. So now I'm teaching her myself. Lucky she has a head on her shoulders and a fair bit of strength. The first time I read this, I commented that this was all the corrupted footage. I commented that so apparently, canonically, dwarves are stubborn, which is, you know, sort of cliche, and that's what I thought. But I'm thinking he just might be racist against dwarves here. She doesn't say anything though, and she didn't sound stubborn to me, to be honest. Another thing that I now noticed, and I didn't really notice the first time around, is how forced this looks. It's like the writer wanted to, okay, let's put this old weathered captain of the guard having a soft spot for little girls. That sounds worse than I was thinking it about in my head, but that was maybe what the writer wanted, and then he just sort of, it's a force, even down to the point of the captain looks away. No, he doesn't. It's talking to me. Shut up. Anyway, Highland, do the guards have everything they need? Oh, there are sufficient munitions and supplies, your grace. You have rifles? I guess, you know, for arrows. Are they munitions? I guess munitions can mean a lot of things, not just ammunitions. Munition can mean a lot of things, especially in construction, I'm pretty sure. The salary is fair, he says. We have enough to buy toys for the kids and a jug of beer when the shift is done. That's not a whole lot, but sure. Of course, the town is growing. It would be nice to expand the ranks, but we can manage that ourselves. Don't you go hiring more people than you need to. You better not manage that yourselves. You really better not manage that yourselves. I'm just warning you right now, mister. Anyway, I have to go. Have a quiet shift. A quiet shift. We got horses. Got a lot of people talking. Some of them talk Russian, but we've heard more others talk different. Particularly, it sounded Italian to me. Got a citizen over here. Greetings, Baroness. Indeed. Do you like my smell? Because I smell nice. And as a citizen, they don't mind. Oh, that was a bow. They don't mind that I go around and steal everything. What is that? Warm Stout. That's a beer. I like stout. It's pretty good. I like lager first, better, but still. Tristian. Tristian smiles at your approach. Greetings. How may this humble chosen of the great Sarenrai help you? Oh yeah, he talks about Sarenrai and a bunch of other things. So tell me about yourself. About myself, I wouldn't know where to begin. You know my name, my faith. I follow Sarenrai. And I have traveled from the... Oh yeah, so many weird names that he has. I have traveled from the Padishah Empire of Kelesh to here. What else do you want to know? Somebody will... there's also a question that I raised before and I will raise again. Hopefully somebody can elucidate me on that. I think it's right here. Forgive me, but from your manner and appearance, you don't strike me as a Keleshite. What the heck is a Keleshite? That's from Kelesh, of course. But, like, the description doesn't tell us anything. Are they not human? Like, at first I thought, because it sort of sounds orcish, because in this game orcs are all one race as far as I can tell. Have we talked to... Oh, as far as we will be able to tell, because we haven't talked to Octavia's lover. I don't remember her name. His name. But at first this sound... Because I went in a different direction anyway. And he's to the west, and I went there first, and that's why I'm saying this. But this, at first, I thought it was orcish, but I don't think so. He talks specifically as they were just men, and that's the weirdest thing, so let me know if you understand why I can ask this question and what it means. Your manner and appearance don't strike me as Keleshite. And he smiles softly. You have nothing to apologize for. Truly, I have received my name and appearance from my parents. And again... Orcs, right? I don't think so. Who had come to Kelesh from afar. I never knew them, for the fate had separated us when I was young. So I grew up in Kelesh. Also, it should be fate, because with a capital F. I grew up in Kelesh, raised by the followers of Sarenrai. Okay. My home is where my heart is, within the temples of the great goddess, among the wise and generous men that took upon themselves the care for a child that was so unlike them. I learned mercy. Maybe they were elves, but they, like he says, men. He's not an elf, is he? Maybe he's an elf. Wait a minute, that's why. Maybe that is why. Yeah, I'll look. We can look, I think. And it is these I learned mercy and patience at an early age, he says, and it is these virtues that have made me the man I am today. Again, he refers to himself as a man, so it's not quite obvious. I mean, of course, elves can be men and women. It's just you could have a different, like... Anyway, do you enjoy traveling? Oh yes, no library and no archive, however large, would have ever allowed me to learn as much as the world as I have in my journeys. No, they could have. You can't... there's a lot of walking, and... anyway, it was only outside the temple walls I realized every living being is a world unto themselves. That's not how that's written, is it? Unto themselves... A world where many contradictions and passions coexist. Each realm leaves its mark on the lives that live there. Only by visiting it, by breathing the same air, walking the same soil, can you understand its people. What drives them, what frightens them, their dreams, and how they honor their gods. I spoke before about sociology. Yeah. He's got a point, but sociology has advanced as well past this thing. No, you can't... I mean, yes, it is better. It is better by walking the same soil and breathing the same air and living among people to understand them. It's easier to do that than it is to just read about them. But that's not the most efficient way of understanding people, to be fair. And Yeah, anyway. Or at least, well, then not reading about them, because if you read what they tell you about them, that is pretty effective. And of course, combined with walking and breathing the same soil and air. Don't breathe the soil, though. But anyway, doesn't being outside the temple make you uncomfortable? No, there are many ways to honor one's gods, Skilladel. It is true shrines play a role in the lives of many of the faithful, but even more find other ways to serve Samurai. The healing light values good deeds above all else. I cannot stand by and watch evil claim others. Perhaps that is another reason why I chose to go on my pilgrimage, leaving behind the temples of Kelesh. My faith is in my heart and in my hands. Millions honor Samurai in her temples, and my soul is filled with joy when I think of their devotion to the goddess. Nevertheless, my path is a different one. So do you know where you're going next? No. My thoughts were far from it. For my mission here is not yet done. And he stares at you in surprise. Why do you ask? Do you wish me to leave your lands? And we're gonna make a pass on him. To the contrary, I hope you will stay with me for as long as you can. The thought of you leaving ... is not a welcome one ... Tristian nods, smiling. I, too, would not welcome the thought of leaving you. And he pauses, then gives a rueful smile, shaking his head. My apologies. I don't know what came over me. I simply wanted to say I won't leave you until you asked me to. And still, I hope that won't happen. And he stops, his face red. Yeah. Let's discuss something else. Forgive me if my stories have bored you. I'm not accustomed to speaking about myself, and in truth, take little enjoyment in it. Okay, what can you tell me of Samurai? She's a goddess of temperance and patience. She teaches us compassion for the weary and mercy to those who go astray. What would you like to know of her? I'd like to know about the history of your faith. There is much to tell. I'm afraid I would miss the mark, and I fear I would bore you. Is there something specific? Yes. How did Samurai come to be? Samurai is one of Golarion's eldest deities. Once, she was an angel that had gathered the armies of her celestial allies behind her. The battle in which she showed her valor decided the fate of a whole world, and in her victory she was rewarded with divinity. In the sacred text, Samurai is shown as a beautiful bronze-skinned maiden, her hair dancing flame. And he smiles slightly. But her appearance is not what matters. It is the grace she brings with her touch, healing, and salvation. Tell me about this battle you mentioned. What was the act of valor of Samurai? Her greatest moment of glory is her battle against the monstrous Rovagug, who threatened to destroy Golarion. Samurai delivered the strike that staggered the horrendous beast and allowed her allies to shackle it. Once the rough beast was captured, the goddess split the earth, and the gods threw the behemoth into the depths. Once it was done, the goddess sealed the pit, and commanded her faithful to stay away from the scar that was left in the land. Tristian falls silent for a few moments. Alas, mortal beings are imperfect. Not even the most faithful among us can always follow their deity's commandments, even though it was such an obvious one. Just don't go there. And how is that? This is a weird. I mean, I can see how we would tell this story, but this is a really weird story, and you're gonna see that in a moment. Even when such commandments are meant to save the world and their followers, specifically when the commandments is just to not go there. But never mind. I, for one, because that connects to the story, I, for one, pray the goddess is never again as furious as she was with Gormuz, which is the creature of death. Right? No, that was Rovagug. Oh, Gormuz, what happened? An error of faith. Not a complete and blatant disregard for the orders of your goddess? No, an error of faith. Perhaps a lesson, he says. But it speaks of the danger when one listens to mortal words and one stops listening to their faith. Samurai forbade her followers from coming near the place of Rovagug's imprisonment, but some of her priesthood misread, not ignored, misread her will, and began to do exactly the opposite. And began to preach of a sacred place where the mightiest of temples dedicated to the goddess were to be constructed. The people listened to these sermons and went forth to the lands touched by Samurai's scimitar. And this is why you write stuff, going back to what we were messing with before with a blind man. This is why you write stuff, so people can check. Hey, this guy is telling us that we should go to the place that our goddess says over here that we shouldn't go to. This doesn't... How, what? Anyway, on the scar that sealed the well, they founded Gormuz, a holy city that was to become the greatest monument to Sarenrae. Unsurprisingly, after the city was built, faithful from all Golarion traveled there to worship. Sarenrae sent omens and visions. Oh, by the way, before I continue reading, what do you think happened here? What do you think happened? Did the city get destroyed because of Rovagug? Did the Rovagug just turn all those people to worship Rovagug instead? Let's see. Sarenrae sent omens and visions, urging her followers to leave this dangerous place filled with the dark will of the shackled Rovagug. But in their pride, the people misinterpreted or ignored her signs altogether. Yeah, you're getting closer there, mate. For they had already come under Rovagug's influence. No, they'd done that before because of the fact that it was very obvious. Finally, the goddess sent her herald to the city, but the fanatics killed him. Realizing the people had turned from her, not on her, from her, the enraged goddess smote Gormuz, the city, not... Rovagug didn't do nothing. It was the goddess that murdered them all, raising it from the face of Golarion with a single strike of her scimitar. And he shakes his head. Today it is called the Pit of Gormuz, a well of pain and suffering. Yeah, there's bad things. It's a crevasse. It's a great crevasse. In the eastern Casmaron. The lands surrounding it are dead, soaked in poison. The Pit of Gormuz seems bottomless until someone dares to gaze into its depths. All who have dared tell of a strange distant glow, a glow that followed them in their dreams ever since. It's probably a volcano down there or something. Throughout all of history, I wonder if we're going there actually, I hope we do. Throughout all of history, the Pit of Gormuz has spawned creatures, with ellipses in the middle, hideous beasts of overwhelming power and driven by only a single desire to destroy everything they see. Some word of... You can tell he's exaggerating here, because of course they don't destroy everything they see, because they also see the sky and the floor, and they're obviously not attacking the sky or the floor. Some were defeated, such as the nightmarish Ulunat, whose carapace to this day towers above the capital of Osirion. I want to go there as well. Others proved too strong to be defeated by mortal hands. The most terrible of them all was the Tarask, which is like a Deathclaw except the size of a mountain. The Armageddon engine, he says, who to this day lies dormant deep beneath Avistan. And yes, when I say like a Deathclaw, I do mean that the Deathclaw was modeled, conceptualized after a Tarask. A Tarask is from Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure it exists before that though, because I have not heard that it was introduced after Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I think it exists as an addendum to the original Dungeons and Dragons rule set, but I might be wrong on that. Have wars ever been waged in Sarenrae's name? Ah, alas, yes. Terrible battles were once fought between the followers of Nethys, Norgorber, and Sarenrae, in the lands now known as Rahadum. To my shame, I must admit that this conflict was started by my brothers and sisters. They came to a foreign land to make way for the goddess's light with sword and fire. Which makes sense, because she killed the whole city, so they kind of didn't mind that too much. The calamity became known as the Oath Wars, a catastrophe that led the inheritors of Rahadum to deny all gods, banning all faiths from their lands. Alas, the mortal vessel is imperfect, and even a pure faith may be distorted by blind ambition, and great suffering may occur in its name. Blind ambition, that's interesting that he puts it like that. Didn't quite catch that. Because if you invert this thing, terrible battles were once fought. My brothers and sisters, blinded by ambition, went to foreign lands to make way for the goddess's light with sword and fire. And that puts it completely different context than this thing. But anyway, that's enough. I want to ask about something else. What are the teachings of Sarenrae? Solar Flame Goddess is the light of salvation, even to those who have been forsaken by the other gods. She teaches us mercy and forgiveness for as long as they may be useful to a soul's salvation. Mercy and forgiveness as long as these things may be useful to a soul's salvation? Make it sound like the followers of Sarenrae will try to find good even in a bandit with a knife to their throat. Actually, he doesn't make it sound like that, but I get that that's what he was trying to make it sound like. Do not mistake compassion for weakness, Gilladel. Also, that's not what I said. No. One hand of Sarenrae is shrouded in healing light. The other holds a scimitar. Yes. Following their goddess, the priests learn to wield this weapon starting in childhood, and they do not hesitate to use it if a dispute cannot be settled peacefully. Samurai preaches mercy, yet her compassion is not infinite. We give a second chance to all who ask, but if they reject it, if they persist in their sins, they will face the goddess's retribution. Are there any undeserving of mercy? Tristian blindly gazes past you into the distance for several moments. When he speaks again, his voice is quiet, reflective, as if echoing his thoughts. Which is what voices do. They echo our thoughts. Undeserving of mercy. Would even Samurai herself find the compassion to... I wonder what that sentence is. Tristian shudders as if awakening from a trance. Forgive me, your words, they are not easy ones to reconcile, and even priests such as I debate them to this day. What is the point at which a soul is irredeemable? Or is it a failing of the priests themselves? The point at which a soul is irredeemable, it seems to me it's quite obvious. It's when they go to a place your goddess told them not to go to, and they kill whoever she sent to them. That's where they become irredeemable, according to your goddess, of course. These are difficult questions you ask, Gilladel. Questions wise men have debated for centuries. Does the being that has been tainted by evil to its very roots, that rejects its own salvation... I would love to know what the salvation is. You guys are not getting me... You're not giving me a solid religious background here. What kind of salvation do you think is going to happen? If this is like Dungeons and Dragons, then if you're evil, you're going to go to the evil god's realm. And if you're good, you're going to go to the good god's realm. That's how it works. To fight the blood war. No, wait a minute. That's on the evil side. If you go to the good side, there's other things. I don't remember what it is. Still deserve... although that was changed in Dungeons and Dragons 3. I think. Do they still deserve compassion, he asks. Can those compelled to do evil by others still seek forgiveness? There is no easy answer on these issues among Samurai's followers. He went from somebody who has been tainted by evil to its very roots, straight to somebody that has been compelled to do evil by others. Which is sort of on the most distant sides of the evil spectrum. It's like somebody that does evil because others have compelled... They were not even asked. Well, I guess compel might be asked, but okay. Could be asked. Asked to do evil. But they might not be evil themselves. They might just not be aware. Like, kill that person, and like a soldier, and they go. Anyway. As for me, I believe that every soul carries the potential for goodness within. No matter the crime, the guilty may find forgiveness if they repent and cast off the evil that led to the deed. I believe this with all my heart, Gilladel, and that's why you don't get more people to join the good side, because you act like you're a jerk and just like cast off all that you pass. Can you imagine the evil side being like cast off all the good in your heart and come to our thing? You can never do that. You need to. It's not how you get people. You need to sort of you need to convince them. Anyway, we're out of time for the day, so let's continue this conversation in the next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Pathfinder Kingmaker. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later, but above all, thank you so much for watching, for listening to my ramblings. Don't forget to leave a comment if you're about the things I said, or other things. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.